Jasmine Crockett didn't deal in accusations that Nightshade dropped facts. And within hours, Barron Trump had collapsed backstage while the truth behind a hidden server began to unravel. You could tell something was brewing the moment she leaned forward in her chair, that slow, deliberate lean like someone who knows the next words can't be unsaid. The segment had been running for 20 minutes. Just another Friday night panel on youth in politics. Low turnout, social media bubbles. Gen Z disillusionment. Jasmine had stayed quiet, letting the others fill the air. A former Missouri senator droned about kids these days not respecting the system. A network analyst kept circling back to TikTok. Then someone tossed out a lazy joke about Barron Trump running for office someday. The audience gave a polite laugh. That's when Jasmine moved. "I don't think it's funny," she said, calm but cold. "Not when there are conversations happening online, dangerous conversations, and someone using Barron Trump's device might have been part of them." Silence. Live silence on air. You could almost hear the control room panic. The host stammered, "Congresswoman Crockett, are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting?" "I'm saying this," Jasmine replied evenly. "If any other kid was involved in the kinds of groups I've been briefed on, they'd be in federal custody right now. But because this kid's last name is Trump, we're pretending it's not real." There, it was raw, unsoftened truth. The panel froze. A Republican consultant tried to laugh it off. "That's a bold accusation, Jasmine, without proof," she said. "Didn't blink? You want proof?" She reached into her bag and pulled out a manila folder. Nobody stopped her. Maybe they thought it was a bluff. It wasn't. Inside were color printouts of group chats, Reddit threads, Discord log screen names matching Barron's known gaming aliases, screenshots from a private server where users traded jokes about state secrets and referenced documents that hadn't gone public yet. Nothing explicitly illegal, but the implications were seismic, especially when IP addresses traced back to Mar-a-Lago's residential wing. The air changed. The laughter was gone. Cameras stayed locked. Producers didn't cut away. The consultant tried again. "Anyone can Photoshop screenshots." Jasmine smiled without warmth. "Which is why I had them cross-checked by 2 cybersecurity firms. One your party used during the 2020 recount. That landed." The room went still. The host muttered something about moving on, but Jasmine cut him off. "I'm not saying Barron Trump broke a law. I'm saying if he weren't a Trump, we'd be having a very different conversation." The segment ended in a haze of tension. But the clip didn't. It ripped through Twitter in minutes. Jasmine's liner, "Different conversation," captioned, shared, viral. By the hour's end, #Jasmine vs Barron was trending. And then came the screenshots posted from a secure link by an intern whose hands were shaking as they hit publish. Within 15 minutes, every major political reporter had the files. By morning, they were dissected line by line on YouTube streams and cable news. Some dismissed it as teenage trolling. Others noticed the references specific details about do memos and NATO briefings not yet public. That's what chilled people. This wasn't kids joking politics. Someone had been leaking restricted info into what started as a gaming Discord. One account, BT_real, posted a meme mirroring a Pentagon layout just flagged for investigation. Then came the first confirmation. 2 Arizona Chronicle journalists verified the server was flagged weeks ago in a federal cyber sweep. Warnings were sent to parents of involved minors, except the Trumps. That hit hard. If true, someone shielded his name. The network scrambled. Some anchors leaned into disbelief. Others tiptoed like the floor was glass. Jasmine, she leaned in harder. By morning, she was on 3 networks. "It's not about guilt," she told WUSA 9. "It's about whether we apply the same rules to the powerful as we do to everyone else." When asked if it went too far, she didn't flinch. "I taught public school. I've seen kids locked up for less with a Chromebook and a group chat. You think people stay quiet because this one's got a security detail?" That clip detonated. She wasn't just a congresswoman anymore. She was the teacher, the lawyer, the woman from Dallas, who knew the game and who usually lost. And as the internet roared, Barron Trump's night went sideways. It was supposed to be simpler, 5-minute donor event at the Four Seasons in Palm Beach. No press, no live stream, just a soft launch for the heir apparent. But when Jasmine's screenshots hit, phones lit up like a fire alarm. Witnesses say Barron went pale, asking one question on repeat. Did she show the chat logs? Minutes before he was set to speak, his handler pulled him aside. He never made it to the mic. Witnesses heard a thud backstage. Barron Trump, the image of control, crumpled to the floor. A guest recorded 7 shaky seconds. Barron, sitting against a wall, blinking fast, hands trembling as his handler shielded his face. The clip leaked within an hour, not dramatic, just devastating because of the look on his face. Fear, not anger, not shock, fear. The Trump team blamed dehydration, tweeting about heat and blood sugar, but it was an air-conditioned ballroom. No spotlight, no speech yet. People weren't buying it. Anonymous guests told reporters Barron kept asking if people knew it was him. That mattered. It meant he knew which server Jasmine referenced and that it had haunted him long before the cameras. By Sunday, the story wasn't just a headline. It was the headline. Intelligence analysts dug through flagged IP logs. Cybersecurity firms whispered about data trails linking back to Trump properties. Some usernames belonged to people already on federal radar for extremism. This wasn't idle banter anymore. It was national security drift. And Jasmine, she didn't gloat. She picked one interviewer park bench with a local Minneapolis station. Jeans, navy blouse, natural hair pulled back. When asked why she said it live, she didn't blink. Because I've sat with too many mothers watching their sons go to jail for less. I wasn't going to play dumb because his last name is Trump. That clip hit harder than the first. Empathy without apology. Meanwhile, Trump world scrambled. No statement from Barron, no denial of the screenshots, just a pack press release, calling it a smear. It backfired. Conservative media fractured. Some circled wagons, others started asking real questions about Mar-a-Lago security. Then the backlash turned ugly. Jasmine's home address leaked. A car idled outside. Capitol Police were called. She showed up to work anyway, refused a vest, walked through the front doors, like nothing happened. Behind the scenes, the real story was taking shape. Jasmine's team holed up in a borrowed Arlington office. A forensic expert dug deeper. Hours in, he leaned back and said, "It's not one server. These chats were mirrored. One mirror routed through South Carolina, the other through Ukraine." Meaning what? Someone was copying everything, watching, archiving. For a reason, then came the name buried in the blogs. Whipchess 56, cross-referenced to a private email belonging to a DC lobbyist Jasmine had seen laughing in a Capitol hallway just last week. That was when she realized this wasn't just about a teenager. It was a hornet's nest. And she had just kicked it wide open. Connected to defense contractors, he showed her an archived post from a now-deleted forum. The language matched the memes from Barron's group chat and, stranger still. One username was marked verified, meaning someone had confirmed the poster, had high-level access. It wasn't just about who was in the room anymore. It was about who had let them in. Jasmine returned to DC, carrying a stack of printouts and a headache that wouldn't quit. Her phone had been buzzing all day, calls from allies, missed calls from blocked numbers that left no messages. At one point, a trusted contact inside the Office of Congressional Ethics texted her a single word, "Careful." She didn't reply. Instead, she walked straight into a closed-door meeting with 3 members of the House Cybersecurity Caucus and laid everything on the table. No theatrics, no flavaving, just facts. They listened. One of them, a soft-spoken representative from Oregon, finally asked, "Do you really think Barron understood the depth of what he was part of?" Jasmine didn't flinch. "I think he understood enough to know he shouldn't get caught." The silence that followed wasn't disagreement. It was recognition. Everyone in that room knew what it meant when powerful families had access to restricted data. They also knew how quickly stories like this got buried unless someone kept the pressure on. Jasmine's presence changed that. Her receipts weren't gossip. They were the start of something much harder to ignore. Reporters waited outside, but Jasmine didn't stop to give a statement. Down the hallway, she saw a familiar face, an aide from the ethics committee who'd brushed her off last year. She gave him a quiet nod, then walked out into the summer air and lit her first cigarette in 6 years. But as the smoke curled upward, someone else was already watching, someone closer to the Trump circle than she ever expected. By Tuesday night, Jasmine knew she'd struck a nerve. Not from headlines or hashtags, the signs were more subtle. Quiet warnings, vague emails, people she'd known for years acting strange. A longtime colleague from Louisiana stopped returning her calls. A senior committee staffer who used to smile in the elevator now looked away. The cold shoulders didn't bother her. What came next did. Around 9:40 p.m. Her aide Curtis was locking up the Arlington office when he noticed something off. The back door was cracked open barely an inch, just enough for a sliver of air. He swore he'd locked it earlier. Circling the lot, he saw nothing unusual. Back inside, he checked the door. That's when he saw them. 2 tiny scratches on the keypad lock. Not forced, not broken, just touched. Curtis snapped the photo, locked up again, and drove straight to Jasmine's condo in Alexandria. She was still up, reading field reports. He showed her the photo. She nodded slowly. "They're trying to shake us." She didn't panic, didn't reach for her phone, just looked him dead in the eye. "I want you to go dark starting tomorrow. Burners only. No email, no Slack, no shared drives. Roll into, we do this clean." The next morning she reported the tampering to Capitol Police. They asked if she'd received any threats. She hesitated, then said yes. Because she had. The first message came as a text from an unknown number. "Stop before someone else does." The second was left in her mailbox, typed in all caps. On printer, paper. "You think you're smart. Watch yourself." No signature. No return address. No fingerprints. Capitol Police took it seriously. They flagged her in the threat database and assigned an extra security detail. But Jasmine knew how that usually went. Lots of paperwork, not a lot of follow-through. So she protected herself the way she always had, by telling the truth, loud and in public. The Morning Table, a fast-growing YouTube news show out of Oakland. Not mainstream cable, but it had reach. More importantly, it had trust. Their Gen Z heavy audience didn't want polished talking points. They wanted the real story. Jasmine gave it to them. "I'm not backing down," she said, voice steady. "If someone's leaking classified material into private chat servers and using a Trump property to do it, I want to know why, and I want to know who else knew about it." Then she named names. Not reckless, not defamatory, just public names. Tied to the threads, she was pulling consultants with cybersecurity contracts, former Trump staffers, even a one-time intern who had bragged about insider access online. The video hit 4 million views in 24 hours for the first time. Jasmine wasn't just reacting, she was driving the conversation. One top comment read, "She's doing what the press won." Another, "This is why they try to scare women like her." That's when Brina Telford appeared. Low-level staffer at a private security firm in Arlington. She reached out through Jasmine's encrypted tip line. "I saw something months ago," she wrote. Flagged IP from Mar-a-Lago, linked to a foreign server. Reported it. Nothing happened. Boss told me to bury it. I have documentation. They met at a quiet diner in Rockville, Maryland. Brina was nervous. Barely touched her coffee. But she handed over a sealed envelope. Internal emails, time logs, and one redacted report showing the firm had flagged unusual data traffic tied to an admin accountant the same day one of those viral screenshots was posted. Jasmine thanked her, gave her a number to call if she felt unsafe, and watched her leave. "They've been sitting on this for months," she whispered to Curtis. He didn't ask who they were. He already knew, but Jasmine didn't know. What none of them knew, yet someone even closer to the Trump family was about to step in.